Getting our first proper smelting setup is going to be a little more complicated than what we've done so far, and it's one of the rare areas in Factorio where I really think there's a best way to do it, and all other ways are just not quite as good. Let's explore some ways that perhaps aren't as great so we can get a handle on what the problems might be here. If we grab our furnaces and just do what is very natural, just make a row of a few of them, and then we could drag our belts alongside. So we take our coal in here from the bottom, and we'll bring ore in from the top. Let's say we're going to use copper for this demonstration. And then we just need inserters to help us along here and get all of our resources into the furnaces themselves. Hook up the power. And we're probably feeling pretty good about this because we're producing copper plates just fine. But how do we get them where they need to go? Because we have belts on either side, we need a third belt to carry these plates away. Well, we could use our long-handed inserters to just reach further. So we'll just put a belt up here. And then we can start trying to output, say, like here. Okay, that works. We have a couple problems here. One is just where are we going to fit the space for the power poles? Because in order to get all of my long-handed inserters along all of these, I would need to take down these poles and put them in those spaces. And then, okay, maybe we could clog up the ends with power poles, but how are we going to work this in the middle? The other problem is these are all outputting onto the far side of the belt here. And that's just the way inserters work. Notice that this one is holding it there. It won't use that inside lane or closer lane, even though there is space there. They're always going to want to dump on the far side. For the space issue, we can simply space out our furnaces a little more if we want. For example, we could just put one space every couple, and then we could fit in power poles. I did this when I was first learning Factorio. Another option is we could manipulate this belt. This is kind of an ugly solution, but it would work. We could route like this, and then come over a couple, and then work our way back down. And then in this area, we could put in some power poles like this, and that would be able to keep this compressed, but we've got this rather unfun thing happening over here. But that still doesn't solve the problem of only using half this belt for the output. We might learn that, okay, we don't need as much coal as we need of the ore, so maybe we're going to make the coal further away and use long-handed inserters on that, and then have the closer two belts be for the ore and the plates. We've got to deal with this. The next concept we need to learn is how to deal more efficiently with that fact that the inserters are only going to output onto the one lane of the belt. And the general form of this, we'll be using this throughout the game, it's not just for furnaces, it can be for assemblers, for other machines, is that you use half as long of rows, but you double them up. So you've got one up here, and one down here, we're going to output onto this belt. And the idea is these inserters go onto the top lane, these inserters go onto the bottom lane, and then this will just be one consolidated belt going out to wherever we need it. Now that does also mean some more belt machinations to get everything where we want it to be, because we need now both copper and coal on both the top and bottom to feed into these, and we're not going to be able to input from both directions. We can only input from the one direction. But I'm still going to stick with just the one belt, and I want to combine these. And you have to make sure that you're going to have the right amount of each material. But in this case, coal, we only need one of these to produce almost 14 plates. So a little bit of coal goes a long way here. And then for the copper, well, 1 to 1, obviously. 1 copper ore to 1 copper plate, and since we're only outputting onto half of the belt, then half a belt in of copper will be enough as well. So how do we get all of this where we want it? Well, it's time for some belt logistics fun. So we're just going to drag our coal line up here, and we're going to want to split it, so this part will stay here, and this part will keep right on going. And then we're going to need to complement that by also splitting up our copper. So this part can go over here, and we'll just swing it around a bit. Combine it with our coal. Side loading again. In from the right, in from the left. They're both going to stay on the lane that's on the side that they combined from. And there we have that. So that's all going to work. Now we have to figure this out. And this is going to require a new tool because one of our problems here is we have to cross this coal belt somehow to get over here. So we're going to use underground belts, which work the same as underground pipes, basically. We've got this little dotted yellow bit here, and we're just going to remove that power pole for a moment to get this in place. But we can see that we have this ability to stretch up to 4 tiles. We're just going to bring it right here. And then we can combine these in the same side-loading manner, like so. And now it's all going to hook up. Power's back in place. And this is all working away for us just fine. And we're going to soon see, there it goes, outputting onto both sides of the belt, and this can go wherever we need it. However, we have a problem still, because we're going to need this coal for other products. So we'd have to make that happen, we'd have to split off more, we've got to get this iron involved somehow, and this is kind of a mess. As we involve more and more products, it's just going to become much more of a mess, and very much a spaghettified setup. So how do we improve this and make it all work so that we can expand it when we need to? Here is the core for what will become the final version of our jumpstart smelting operation. 4 furnaces here on the left for copper, a dozen on the right for iron. We've got the central output belt for plates for both of them, input on either side of that, inserters, power poles. We're ready, except for we need to get all of our resources flowing in a smooth manner this time. And to do that, we're going to use the double splitter method that was popularized some years ago by JD Plays. This is definitely not my creation. Pretty much every decent tutorial that I have seen on the early game smelting does this because it's the best way. So we're going to start at the bottom of the furnaces, and we're going to take 4 gap, and then we're going to turn around with another splitter, hence the double splitter name. Now if we turn this, 1 belt going this way, and 1 belt going the other way. So the point of this is a very non-traditional or outside-the-box use of splitters. But whatever goes in this splitter, it's going to be coal for fuel, is going to go on the inside of the belt, and will go in both directions because it's splitting onto the left-facing belt and the right-facing belt. And then the ore will be the same, only be on the outside of those belts, and it'll be coming up from below. So we're going to want to now double this, repeating it over on the iron side. And out we go. And there we go this way. Now, let's get our coal in. We're going to use the undergrounds to feed it into the proper area. And then we're going to use a splitter here. So part of it goes into this, and we can see, yep, it's going in both directions. And then we just continue on. Another underground. Same thing over here for iron. This can continue on further. And this can go down for as many of these columns as we need for various materials or more of the same material or whatever we want to do with our smelting operation. Notice everything has coal now. We've taken care of the fuel problem. Now let's get the ore resources in. Copper first. Oops, I think I want to go down a little bit further. There we go. We'll just jump you over. And I don't want to split this off because this is actually the only location I'm going to need copper, but I could if I wanted to. But that just simply goes on the outside, and it will begin to be consumed. Now, we're going to do a similar activity with our iron. Except this, we are going to want further down. So let's put a splitter here. And half of it comes in here. And the rest keeps going. And just like that, we have, this is expandable because we got all this room over here. We can stamp down more and more and more of these as we may wish to. Now, it's important to remember a couple of things. One is that we're pretty low on power. So I have added a 3rd and 4th steam engine, but we'll want to add even more to this pretty soon. Make sure you don't run out on that. And then also, with our mining drills, each of these takes 2 seconds to produce one. they take 3.2 seconds here. So for every drill, you can support 1.6 furnaces. And we have plenty of ore coming in for that. But if we were to expand it more beyond the capacity of our miners, that's something we're going to want to watch on and make sure that we have enough capacity. One issue that can come up around this point, or even a little earlier, is what do you do if you don't have rocks in the quantity that we have them on this map for your stone? Well, we're just going to come to our stone patch here, and if we needed to, we could of course throw a miner down on this as well, and we could put down a chest and just say, you know what, save a couple stacks of stone for me whenever, and then I can make my furnaces out of those. Or we could not do that at all and just put down an assembler right next to it, depending on how close this happens to be to what else we're trying to do, and just make it do the stone furnaces itself, because they only require stone. So we're going to have our drill just dump them in there, and it will assemble for us a nice healthy stack of stone furnaces in time. We just come back and grab them whenever. We don't even have to craft them. So we've now got stone available to be set up. We have our iron and copper being produced with no interference from us other than making sure they have enough power and mining drills set up. And now we are ready to advance to having a factory automatically produce whatever items of use we may find for it to do. And that'll be coming up next time when Factorio Demystified returns.